What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be changing out some interior and exterior door handles on this 1993 Toyota Camry. So these things are really common for breaking off. We're going to start with the exterior door handle, and today we'll be doing a rear door. We might do a separate video for front doors, but I believe they're pretty much the same side to side, except for the driver's side handle, which may have the illumination package, which will have an illuminated lock, which this car has. But yes, these are some of the tools that I think we're probably going to need. I haven't done this job before, nor have I looked up the instructions on how to do it, but we're just going to go for it. I know for sure we're going to need probably some sort of small flathead screwdriver to pop some interior plugs and stuff out in order to access screws. Most of the screws on this are going to be Phillips, I believe. Also got a couple trim tools. This one here, non-marring, cheap plastic, and then these here that are more for removing clips and stuff like that. Sometimes they get stuck in the door. The hardware that holds the handle to the door, I believe, is going to be 10 millimeter. Usually that's how it is. So starting on this door, pretty simple. In order to get the door skin off, we'll start up here. So this interior door panel piece here, right by the handle, there's going to be two clips, and I'll show you with one of the other ones over there so you can see, but we're going to need to use this small flathead screwdriver to do that. And there's two areas that you're going to sneak into. So if you look at this handle right here, in order to get this piece off, you can see in here there's a pin at the top, and same with down here at the bottom. So you basically just stick the flathead screwdriver in right in here, and then you're going to pry up a little bit to pop that off to get this out of the way. So, and then same with on the bottom as well. You're going to sneak in underneath of the handle, underneath of there, to try to pop that off. I'm going to go for the top first and see if I can sort of finagle it out of the way. Those things are really, really common to break. The plastic, as it ages, becomes very brittle, and then usually it breaks. So we're going to see if we can get this off here without breaking it, but so there's the top one, and see if I can sneak in here to get this bottom one out. Get some fingers in behind it. Sorry, a little difficult to see. The lighting isn't the best, and it's just in a bad spot. A lot of patience with these. You got to get it right in the right spot, and then it'll let go. We're gonna take a look at that door handle and see. Pretty much, if you look at the door handle where this dips down in here, right about this line right here is where we're gonna try to go in. And once again, there's just sort of a sweet spot. I've done these before, and they're just kind of a pain. Oh, there we go, I felt it let go. But you're gonna get it to a certain point, and then all you're gonna do is just open the door handle up like this and sort of wiggle it out. You can see how there's a lip there, so it kind of just comes out and away. And then once we do that, we can leave the door handle in place because the skin's gonna come over it. Next thing we're going to do is remove a plug. I'll let you get in there and look. It's located right here. So you're gonna pop that out. And then there's also another hole that's in here, but there's no plug. So once we get this plug out, you don't want to mark it up, just be careful with it. It's plasticky, kind of rubber, but we just pry it out. Just like that. Set that to the side. Here, Phillips screwdriver. So it's on a bit of an angle, it's not straight in. And I find some of these doors kind of hold the screw, so even if you take it all the way out, sometimes they don't really quite fall out. One screw. They are pretty long, so just keep going until you think you got it. I think that's out, but it's just kind of stuck in the hole, so we'll leave it. Now you're going to find that there's a couple push pins located here and here. So they're pretty simple to take out. You just push the center of them in. They just pop in. And then you should be able to sort of get your fingernails in behind and pull them out like that. And to reset them, you just push the centers back out like so. And that way they're ready to go back in. When we go to install them, we push till this is flush. It'll snap into place. So I take both of those out. And then this one does not have any screws on the bottom, but we got two more push pins on the inside as well. So just do the same thing to those. We'll pop those out. And then I believe we're pretty much ready to take this off. There's going to be some pressure clips that are in behind here. So we just pretty much start at the bottom of the door, and sometimes they get a little stuck over the years. You get butyl tape and other stuff, but try to just use your fingers to get underneath and apply a little force outwards. You could use the trim tool, the orange one I showed you in the beginning. All right, we're just wiping off any undercoating, oil, or also butyl tape, which is sort of a tarry tape that they use to hold the piece of plastic on underneath. Just watch you don't get it on the fabric because it does not want to come out. Got my flathead screwdriver ready. We want to pull the panel outwards and then up and sort of pop this off. Just working it around the door handle. To get that off. Now we've got our power window switch in there. So I'm just trying to see, there should be a little tab that we can sort of depress. Use my thumb. Pop that out. That's off. Now we can take the door panel out and away so that we can actually access the inside of the door. All right, now we're going to want to remove these screws that hold the handle assembly to the door, so that we can get this plastic off to actually get in there and work. 10mm screws. Looks like we've got 2 of them. Let's see, because the door handle's there. Sorry, 3 of them. All right, now that that's off, I'm just going to try to, actually, you know what? I'll show you how to take this off. So these are pretty simple. Inside of here, you'll see that there are plastic clips. In this case, they're yellow. And all you need to do is just unsnap them. They're just like little clips that go onto the rod. So we just got to pop them off. I'm gonna grab my screwdriver. You can see. Okay, so there's one. You see how I pop that off like that? And then the rod should be able to drop down and out of there. I'm gonna do this bottom one. Sorry, there's all this dirt and stuff in the way. Don't think this door handle's ever been off. if you want, you can label which one goes where. You'll know when you go to put it back on, because if you try to move the lock thing, it'll try to move the latch and it'll just feel all messed up. So, all right, so you just peel this thing off and just watch, because this butyl tape that's on here, it tends to get really sticky and oily, and it can get on you, and then it gets tracked everywhere. So just watch what you're doing. Also, slowly work this along. We don't want to stretch and rip the plastic. The plastic's kind of important. It just keeps a lot of wind, air noise, and airflow from leaking through the interior door panel. It also keeps road noise down and moisture from entering the car. So kind of an important thing. Actually have access to the inside of the door, and I'm just going to sort of clean up a little bit in here, and then we'll go ahead and remove our door handle, which is located somewhere over in this area. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we need to remove the latch assembly out of the road in order to take the handle out, I think. So this car has power door locks, so you can see we've got a wiring harness that runs up in here for our actuator that's going to be in the latch assembly. Now the door handle itself actually has a little fork on it that goes to a pin that's part of the latch assembly. So when you pull the door handle up, it moves that fork, which actuates your door latch. So what we're going to do is just unplug the electrical connector for the actuator, and you might be able to see it better. I'll move out of the way. Yeah, it's just a white connector, and it should just be a tab in there that we can undo to unclip that. And then we're also going to take these 3 screws out of the way, hopefully get the latch assembly out. It's a number 3 Phillips, at least that's what fits pretty good. So all right, the locking tab is located on the very top of the connector. It's in a tight space to reach, so all right, we're gonna try these pliers out here. These are from Olsa Tools. Oh, that word meant Olsa Tools. Check them out. Electrical disconnect pliers, baby. Make sure that's well seated in there. Oh yeah. Look at that fancy bolt. It's even got a little washer. I'm hoping that this just comes out. I'm not too sure with this child lock that's over here, how that works. All right, looks like it's basically just a piece that just stabs into the latch assembly to turn or not, so it's not really connected. We can sort of just hopefully droop this down and out of the road a little bit to give us some room. You can see that other screw that's now in there. So 2 10mm bolts that secure the door handle to the actual door. One of them's going to be through this hole, and the other one's going to be, looks like we can get through this area here where the latch was. All right, I got a little 10mm socket, 1/4" drive swivel. We're gonna try to get in here and do it this way. I think you're supposed to pop this cover off for the child lock and somehow take it out, because that'll give you perfect access to this thing. But we're just gonna try to do it this way. I'm just gonna stick a magnet in here. Hopefully this is gonna work. I'm just gonna try to loosen the bolt out. If it falls down in the bottom of the door, it's no big deal. I guess I could just pick it up out of the bottom of the door. But that's the goal right there, is just catch the bolt. Hopefully sneak it out of here. There's a bunch of things in the way. The lock actuator and the rods are going to be in your way a little bit. Take the bolt out. Let's get this other bolt out as well. We're going to go through here. This one's a little more accessible. Okay, now that we got those out, we should be able to take this door handle off now. And let me just look at the new door handle. There'll be a way it either comes, the top comes out or the bottom comes out, one or the other. So looking at it this way, it looks like the bottom's going to have to come out first. It has to. So we lift up and then out in this way by the looks of things. And yeah, it's just this, we're just getting caught up on this plastic. There we go. You can see this door lock actuator that's sort of in the way. I literally just kind of pushed it down without disconnecting all the rods and everything. We can leave it all attached. And that's enough to get this out. And now we just have to go back together. Plastic trim piece. It's sort of like a gasket or whatever you want to call it. But it needs to sit onto the door handle in a certain place so that all the bolt holes line up and everything so that it sits properly on there. There's a bunch of little plastic dowels that stick up and they're located around the handle, and we just want to make sure that those are all sitting where they're supposed to sit. And you can see how this one sort of wavy. This is a made in China, cheap. This one that I took out has actually been replaced already, and there's nothing wrong with this handle, but I was just swapping them out. And this one's a Dorman replacement, so made in Taiwan, not China. Same thing, only different. You can see how the gasket on this one sits a little nicer, and the shape of these pieces that go underneath of all these hooks is a little nicer, and it actually contours the handle better. Now this, once we set this down into the door, those pieces should kind of get pressed into place by the frame of the door, and it should sit normally. So I'm just going to take my flush cuts and trim around here a little bit so that this sits in there the best that it can, and then we'll go and put this back into the car. All right, once you get everything all situated the way that you want, basically we're just gonna stick this in and do the reverse of everything that we just did. So this is going to go up in first. And just as I suspected, we're gonna fight with this piece of crap plastic sleeve. And then I'm going to go on the inside and just make sure, because I can see it's not sitting where it's supposed to sit. So what do you expect for China-made products? That's what you get. All right, round two. We did some trimming, and now we're just going to try to slip this back into its home, hopefully. I should have grabbed the screwdriver. I'm going to grab the screwdriver. Okay, now it's sitting where it is. It's supposed to be sitting. All the plastic on these cheap Chinese door handles, they have a bunch of excess that didn't get cut off, and things don't sit right, so you have to go in with side cutters or scissors and trim it all out so that it fits perfectly and is super glued in place so that it doesn't flop around. But if you want to be cheap, that's what you got to do. So now we're gonna get those 2 bolts that we took out that hold it in place. We're gonna put those in now. I might have to just stick this on the end here and go in. Wants to just like, okay, now we're gonna try this other one in here. So we got that other one in there, and just make sure that they're tight. I can see that this one is still loose. We're not all the way down, so we're just gonna keep on going. And I made the mistake of not running a tap through the threaded holes that are on the handles, because for some reason the threads just weren't very nice to put the bolts in. So if you buy these cheap Chinese ones, you gotta just go over every little thing on them. It helps too if you like go back and forth with the bolt. Don't worry about the crunchy plastic noises. All right, so it actually doesn't look too bad from the outside. We'll see if it survives a winter without becoming brittle and snapping off. But that's sweet. So yeah, pro tip for these threads, I would probably run a tap over them. I think they're M6 by 1.0. I'll check and let you know in a minute. And now we're pretty much at the point we can stick our door latch and actuator assembly back in. All right, take a close look down in that hole. You can see that there is melted plastic from them putting these nutserts and melting them in place. Plastic has come up and just coated the inside of the threads on one half of it. So that's why it's not very nice. They are an M6 by 1.0 thread pitch, so I'm just gonna run the tap through there and clean that up, probably use a pick, get all that plastic out of there that's not supposed to be there. And just another quality product from our friends over in China. All right, now we need to install this piece. Like I said, important thing is, if you look inside, you'll see there's a dowel piece that needs to go up inside of this fork for the door handle. So we're just going to carefully finagle the door latch up in there. There should be enough room if you have skinny arms and hands like myself to sort of stick your arm in there so you can grab this thing and then finagle it up into place. If you need to, you should be able to move the door handle to move that fork to sort of position it. And then also just watch too for this, the child lock piece as well, and where it needs to go in order for that to sit into place. But there you go, you can see we've pretty much got that almost lined up. Get a couple of these screws started, and then I'm just going to get a better look at that fork. I can't quite feel if it's engaged or not. I think it is. Yes, it is. Should be able to just take a look through the door here and just make sure. If you look way deep down in there, yep, you can just see it there. So get these started and we'll tighten them down. Okay, we got all three of those started by hand. Now we're just going to carefully tighten these down. Just make sure that those are snug. Just testing with the screwdriver, you can push the latch in like that. To put it in the lock position, and then pull the door handle. Make sure that it works before we close the door. And then we got this connector that we're just going to plug back in. Pretty simple. Line it up, plug it in. Now we're ready to put the door handle. Actually, we got to do the plastic. All right. Also, just make sure that the thing works from the inside as well. The child lock works. Get the plastic on there. I got one wiring harness and also these linkages that we need to feed through the plastic. Now, if you wanted to add more butyl tape, you can. You can buy that stuff usually from your local hardware store. They should sell it. And then all we're going to do is just sort of line this up to where it was sitting before and hopefully just press that into place and sort of just work it along. It's really sticky stuff, so try to line the holes up too for all your bolt holes. Make sure that your linkages are through, like I say. Everything looks good. They're not all crossed over and tied up. All right, guys, so you can see here, if you look at these linkages, there's one that pivots. Okay, that's going to be for your lock. And then the straight through long one is actually for the door latch. So the locking one goes to the top, right, to your locking mechanism. So we're going to feed that in there, just like so. Then swing this latch over and lock it into place. You may need to use some sort of a screwdriver or something like that to push on that. And then put the bottom one in for your door handle. Lock that one in as well. And once those are secured, you can get your screws and get those started. We're just going to tighten that down just a little bit so that it's still movable, but also not going to fall off. Okay, now that they're all started in there, we're going to tighten these down. They do thread into plastic, so do not over tighten them and strip the plastic threads. Once that's in there, now we're ready to put our door panel back on. Okay, make sure that these clips at the bottom are secured in there. They just pop in and out of there, so make sure if they're stuck in the door, take them out with that forked trim tool I showed you in the beginning of the video, and then pop it into place like so. And then all we're going to do now is basically stick this thing on. So we're going to plug this in first, because once we get door panel on, we're not going to be able to get that in. And hopefully I can see. Finagle that in there. Now we're going to hook the top of the door into place. Very important that we do this. Like that, and then give it a couple whacks on the bottom. All those clips should pop into place. Now we need to put these push pins in here. Remember, we gotta pop them out like that so that we can install them. And then once they're pushed in, all you do is just push these in until they're flush. Like so. And we got a couple screws. This piece here that covers that front screw underneath of the window switch. And you can see how it sits on an angle. There's also a little piece here that clocks where it's supposed to go, and there's a cutout in the door itself for that. So you just kind of try to line that up the best that you can. Push this thing into place. It should just pop in there like so. And last but not least, we have this trim cover piece, and we're just going to install that now. So open this up, pop that in there. We hook the that piece in there. And then push here and here to snap it into place. And once that's in there and everything looks flush and cool, just make sure the door locks work. We'll latch this one more time before we close the door. That's cool, so we'll figure that out later. Nice. I guess you need to have it unlocked in order to work, because that makes sense. So, unlocked. Latch the latch. Inside door handle works, confirmed it works, locked and unlocked. The child lock works, everything's good. That's how you do it. We're gonna have another video on the front ones because we had so much fun with this back door latch assembly, and handle. Thanks for watching. Got any questions, throw them in the comment section below. Be glad to answer any questions you might have. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We have thousands of videos for you to watch. Have a good night. We'll see you next time.